Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about routines. Yes, daily routines, life routines. Have you ever felt that you feel like on a rut with your routines? It happens to the best of us. We put our heads down, we push through each day, let ourselves settle into a certain kind of a rut. And before we know it, we're restless and weary that and can't find out how we got there. It's important to keep in mind that being uncomfortable with the status quo, it's okay. Not only is okay, but it's a good thing. So today we're going to explore the different signs that are going to tell you whether it's time to disrupt your routines and how to get started. Welcome to the Leading Yourself podcast. This is your host, Carolina de Arriba. I'm an HR professional, health and fitness coach, wife, mom, and above all things, a goal-getter. In this podcast, we're going to be digging into all things leadership, professional and career development, habits, and relationships. This is a podcast for those who want to become the best version of themselves. Those who have big dreams and are willing to embrace the journey and put in the work to achieve them. My goal is to share with you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you in your journey. So let's dig into today's episode. Daily routines are not other thing than habits. You know that I am a true believer in the power of habits. Habits are very, very powerful because they help us use less of our brain power to do certain things. See, our brains are constantly working and consuming energy in every decision that we make, in every action that we take. If there are actions that we know that by repeating them over time are going to yield us the results that we are expecting, and we're able to formulate those habits, then we're going to be able to do those things using less or consuming less of that brain power or energy. Routines can undoubtedly be effective for increasing your productivity and approaching your day with some kind of a strategy. But there comes a point when your desire to stick with the predictable manages to only get in your way. Let's talk about some signs that can tell you that it's time to shake up your routines. The first one is that you can no longer remember the value of your routine. As I said, routines are great for guaranteeing a certain level of predictability. But there are some things in life that just cannot be predicted. If you can no longer see the value in what you're doing, that's typically a sign that you're doing it out of a habit rather than a necessity. And it might be time to shake up your routines. The second sign is that you are more concerned with your routine than the results. If you have a routine today, whether it's a morning routine, an evening routine, or any kind of routine in your day, you probably designed that routine and install that routine in your life because you wanted to achieve certain kind of a result, right? That's the reason why we design our routines, because they can help us create the consistency that we need to achieve certain level of results. But if you got to a point when you're so concerned about the routine itself and making sure that you fulfill every step of that routine, and the only thing that you think about is the routine itself, and you start to forget about the results, it's also a sign that you might need to reshake a little bit your daily routines. The third sign is that you dread your current routines and you feel kind of heavy going into them. You might have a routine that at one point in time, it was something that you were looking forward, that was giving you energy, that make you feel empowered and in control. But lately, you're kind of dreading doing those routines. Now, let me clarify. If you feel like that at the beginning of trying to install a routine, that is completely normal. If you feel dread to do a routine one day, once in a while, that's completely normal. What I'm talking about is that after having installed a routine and have been consistent with that routine over time, you are constantly dreading that routine and you feel heavy going into it. You feel like it's something that you have to do versus something that you get to do to allow you to achieve the results that you want. That is the third sign that you might need to shake up your routines. The fourth sign is that you lose your cool when things change. You're so used to your routine that when one piece of your routine falls out of order or doesn't happen, it throws you off for the rest of the day. You're not yourself, you don't feel in control anymore, and you're just worried because you have missed that step in your routine, or you have omitted something, or something didn't happen the way that it was supposed to happen, or something changed in your routine without you being the one changing it. That is another sign that you might need to shake up your routines. Number 5, your creativity is not what it used to be. Routines, even though create predictability and uncertainty, they also give us the ability to use less, again, brain power to do those activities. So we can use our brain power or energy for more creative work, for more strategic work, for other things that are not routinary in nature. When you feel that you're in a rut with your creativity, might also be a sign that something needs to change in your daily routines. Number 6, maybe you're going through a season in your life. Maybe you have a new job, or you're starting a new project, or you're moving, or you're starting school, or you're in a new relationship, or you ended a past relationship. When we change seasons in our life, our routines sometimes also need to change and evolve with us. Those routines that serve us well in a certain stage of our life might not longer serve us in our current stage of our lives. Number 7, you'll recognize that you're not using your energy wisely. I mentioned before that habits and routines have the amazing power to allow you to better use your energy. But if you feel that you're doing tasks that require more energy during times that your energy is low, or vice versa, that might mean that maybe your routines need to be adjusted to allow the right time for you to focus on those things that require most of your energy and attention during the day. So, how do we go about changing our routines if we feel that some of these things are true for you? If you feel that you can no longer remember the value of your routine, or maybe you're more concerned about your routine than you are about the results that that routine can give you, or you dread your current routines and you feel heavy going into it, or maybe you lose easily your cool when things change, or your creativity is not what it used to be, or you're in a different season of your life, or maybe you recognize that you're not using your energy wisely. Or maybe it's multiple of these things that are going on. All these are signs that you need to shake up your routines, that you need to change your routines, that something about your routines is not working in helping you, but is working against you. So, how to go about changing your routines? I'm going to break it down in 3 very simple steps. The first step is to get real, to envision your perfect, productive daily routine. When I talk about perfect, productive daily routine, also please be realistic. Your perfect day must account for your current circumstances and your capacity. Think about the season that in your life that you're in. and your current priorities as well as your current challenges in order to identify what is that you need in your routines. What is that you're looking for in your routines? What do you want your routines to help you with? If you have clear why you need a routine and what is that you need from that routine, you'll be able to design the right routines for the stage in your life that you are. The second step is to learn more about how to form good habits. I've shared some tips in the past in this podcast episode, and there's a few episodes that you can listen to that can give you some hints on how to develop habits. Or you can go read some of my favorite books like Atomic Habits or The Power of Habits. Those are amazing books that can help you break down how to implement new habits. And step number 3, take small steps. You can't change all your routines at the same time. You need to start by making small changes one at a time. Try to prioritize. If you're dreading your routines, think about what about your routine is that you're dreading and start changing that piece. You need to really focus and create that self-awareness on what about your routine is that needs a change, what needs a tweak. You already visualize how your perfect routine would be. Now compare your current routine with that perfect routine and try to identify the gaps and try to implement one change at a time. My suggestion is that at least you allow 1 week in between introducing new changes to your routine. So that will make it easier for you to adapt to your new routine. When you look at changing your routines, a lot of times you don't need to change the intent of your routine, but just make small tweaks. If you listen to episode, I think it was episode number 4, where I explained my morning routine, I talked about 7 components that I intentionally built into my morning routine. The first one is get moving. The second one is to hydrate. The third one, be grateful. The number 4, get inspired. Number 5, get focused. Number 6, get ready. And number 7, fuel your body with the right foods. A few months, I started to feel I was in a rut with my morning routine. So I went back to the 7 elements and I started questioning whether I needed to change any of the elements. And I always came to the same conclusion that no, there was no need to change those elements. Those were the right elements to have in my morning routine. And I was feeling a little bit frustrated on why I was feeling in such a rut, why I was feeling that I was more focused on my routine than the results, why I wasn't as productive, as creative as I used to be. I was not waking up feeling excited to do this morning routine as I used to months ago. And then I realized that those 7 elements were there for a reason, and that reason was still valid for me. So, what I did is look into each of those 7 elements and how I was applying those elements in my routine. And I did shake up my routine, I did disrupt my routine, but I did not change those 7 elements. So, one of the things that I did is I swapped the order on some of the elements. So the flow made more sense for this stage in my life that I am today. The second thing that I did is that I look into each of the elements and I make some changes in some of the elements. For example, the first element is movement. I wake up, and one of the things that I do during my morning routine is to exercise. Working out plays such an important role in my morning routine. And I didn't want to stop working out because I know that when I work out, I have more energy during the day and I feel better when I work out. What I did though is I changed my workout routine, and that helped me get out of the rut. I was doing the same things every day and I got to a point that was, I have to admit, a little bit bored. So I changed a little bit my routine. I incorporated my treadmill. I started to do cross training. And that helped me to shake up that portion, that element of my morning routine. The other element was to get inspired. For me, one of the things that inspire me are my dreams and my goals. So the idea of making those a reality really motivates me. So every day I was writing down my 10 dreams, my 10 goals in the next 10 years. I have been doing that for over 2 years now. And what I found is that while that still motivates me, I needed to buff up a little bit that particular element of inspiration. One thing that I was doing in the past was listening to a podcast in the morning. And I swap it up a little bit and I started to read a book instead of listening to a podcast in the morning. Or I started to look at inspirational quotes every morning and I was posting them and sharing them in social media. And I felt that that piece particularly I had become a creature of that habit. I would look for the quote, I would post it in social media, but I was not paying attention to the quote itself. I was paying more attention to posting and sharing the quote for others than I was to really thinking about that quote and letting that quote inspire me. So I stopped sharing it in social media. That's one thing that I stopped doing in my morning routine. And I look for different type of quotes and look for different types of books to read and different types or new podcasts to listen to get out of that rut. That is why starting with that vision on how your ideal routine would look like, to think about in what stage of your life you are and what do you want your routine to do for you is so important. Because once you have that clear, it's easier to design the content of that routine. For me, I didn't have to do drastic changes in my morning routine. I kept the same 7 elements. I just made small tweaks on just a couple of those elements. And that was enough for me to feel again engaged with my routine and feel that my routine was adding value to my day, making feel more productive, making feel in control of my day, making feel more inspired and motivated throughout the day. So I hope that you like today's podcast episode. If you're feeling on a rut with your routines, you're not alone. And I hope that today's podcast episode gives you some ideas on where to start shaking up and disrupting your daily routines. If you like today's episode, as always, I'm going to ask you to go to Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. While you're there, make sure that you subscribe so you get notifications on upcoming podcast episodes. And finally, if you know a friend that can benefit from today's episode, do me a favor and share this episode with them. And with that, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you here again for another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast.